Hi everyone, this is the one and only Grendel's mother. Welcome back to our podcast, The Modern Woman. Today I'm joined by the wife of Bath from the Canterbury Tales. It's nice to be here. So from what I've heard, you've had quite a lot of husbands. Well, you could say that. So what exactly did you want? What was the reason for having so many husbands? Well, there were many reasons for my actions. I had 5 husbands throughout my life, all of which I used for money and power. To be a woman in my time meant to be a wife and a mother. How was I meant to make money once my husbands died? If I have the means to marry and make money, then why would I not? Understandable. So it was only for power and money, nothing deeper than that? Well, I guess you could say that I really and truly wanted sovereignty over a man. Sovereignty? How so? As I mentioned earlier, women in my era had absolutely no independence over men. Our entire lives were ran by our husbands and fathers, and I grew tired of it. How do you think this desire for sovereignty affected your story? Overall, I married my 5th husband, Jenkins, and it ended in disaster. Disaster? What happened? Well, for once in my life, I truly adored and cared for my husband, but he didn't reciprocate the feelings. He beat me and abused me with his words, and eventually hit me so hard I went deaf in one ear. Wow, I'm so sorry. Do you think that was some sort of karma for your previous actions in your marriages? Not exactly. Karma means I would have done something wrong. I never wronged anyone. I simply had to make money. I believe my marriage with Jenkins was just a rotten apple in my life. So overall, what would you say was your hamartia or fatal flaw? I would say that my fatal flaw was my want for money and my obsession for another husband. This overall led to my marriage with Jenkins and everything involved in that. Oh, well, moving on. What do you think was your biggest struggle throughout your story? I faced numerous struggles throughout my work, even so far as domestic violence. However, one thing I struggled with was my views on marriage. I had an extremely negative view on the idea of marriage. I led with the idea that men controlled women with power, money, and religion. Therefore, if I used my body, I could get these things over men rather than them having that over me. Do you think you had any other struggles? Well, to be completely honest, there has been some talk that I might be quite the gossip and flirt. Well, I don't mean to. Sometimes I drink a tad too much and end up telling my husband's secrets to my friends. Whatever, big deal. Well, I heard a rumor that you tended to eye up other men at your husband's funerals. Is this true? I have to move fast. What can I say? Well, since we are on the modern woman, how would you say that being a quote-unquote modern woman affected your story? Well, as I mentioned earlier, being a modern woman eventually led to my 5th marriage and the abuse that entailed. While that experience was awful, being a modern woman also had its pros. Throughout my life, I gained more money than any other woman has on her own in my time. There was no way for me to make money, and I simply found a solution. So, in your time, Christianity played an enormous role in society. I've heard that you challenged God and the Bible, which is not something that a traditional woman would do. Why did you challenge God in the first place? Oh, yes, that. I challenge the Bible through the stigma set on sex and celibacy. I think all of it's ridiculous. The Bible states that no one should have premarital sex and that we should be celibate. Yet society says that I should be bearing children at the age of 13. I also criticize the church for how it dictates women to be mothers and wives as it did not fit with my lifestyle. I guess you can say that my argument and mentality towards women in the church make me a modern woman. Wow, what an inspiring story. I find it so interesting how you stood up against society and the church. I do have one final question. How did your story overall relate to the human condition? Ooh, I've been waiting to answer this one. As I've mentioned throughout the interview, I represent the want for respect and autonomy. My struggle for equality, respect, and even the desire to be loved relate to the universal experience. In fact, these roles will be seen numerous times throughout history. Amazing answer. I really respect the way you stood up against society. It makes me wish that I would have ventured out of the swamp more in my lifetime, but what can you do? Well, that's all the questions I have for you. Do you have anything for me? I actually do. I wanted to start with how did you display revenge throughout your story and how did it affect the overall outcome? When my son's arm was ripped off by Beowulf, which eventually led to his death, I had to seek revenge. I attacked Harrow where everyone was. It was due to that God-forsaken place that my son caused so much chaos. I was doing relatively good in my battle in Harrow, then Beowulf followed me back to the swamp. There, I almost killed Beowulf, however he found an ancient sword which he used to kill me. Oh, wow. So would you say revenge is a large part of the human condition you displayed? Absolutely. My need for revenge can show the way that people have a need to seek justice for wrongdoing. I completely agree. So, secondly, do you believe that the way you dealt with grief could be described as a human condition? Well, not necessarily. While it could be argued that my grief on my son may show a universal experience, the specific way I dealt with it may not be felt by all. As I mentioned previously, I wreaked havoc on Harrod over the death of my son. While grief is a deep, complex emotion everyone feels, I don't believe everyone would react the way that I did. Yeah, I would say you went a tad off the rails, but the past is in the past. Next up, how does your motherly bond relate to the story? The human condition of motherly love can be shown through me greatly. Every action I did was for my son. Typically, I never leave the swamp. I made the choice a long time ago to leave the kingdom in peace, as I knew that Grendel and I's presence would cause chaos. However, when certain measures need to be taken, I had no issue going the extra mile to protect my baby. Oh, so it's like when moms lift up a wrecked car to get their baby out of it? Yes, you could say that it's very similar. Mothers have an extreme bond with our children, and 99% of the time, we will do anything for our kids. I never understood the whole idea of wanting a kid. Like, why would I want to watch over this screaming, crying thing and watch it ruin my life? Yeah, well, to each their own. Okay, final question. How could you be classified as a modern woman? While there is much debate over whether I'm a woman or not, I suppose the fact that I'm a powerful warrior could make me a modern woman. In my time, women were simply trophies and cup holders like that damn Welsh Theo. I am also assertive, strong, and brave, also unlike women in my time. I relate much more to the women of the 21st century, without the whole killing thing. I agree. It seems we both don't fit the traditional standards of women in our time. Yeah, and look at where that got us. Dead and deaf. Super great. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd take deaf with autonomy over relating to Welsh Theo any day. Oh, you make a great point. Well, I've really enjoyed having you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime. Audience, this has been The Modern Woman with the Wife of Bath, and thanks so much for tuning in, and have a great Christmas season. And to our top listener, a Professor Staten, good luck with those English 1302 kids next semester. They're quite the handful.